Hey all, new day, new verse blocks, and I kind of want to break these up into a couple ideas, so we'll go through it as we do. But here we go, verses 4 through 10. The earlier revelation was intended simply to get us ready for the Messiah, who then puts everything right for those who trust him to do it. Moses wrote that anyone who insists on using the law code to live right before God soon discovered it's not so easy. Every detail of life regulated by fine print. But trusting God to shape the right living in us is a different story. No precocious climb up to heaven to recruit the Messiah. No dangerous descent into hell to rescue the Messiah. So, what exactly was Moses saying? The word that saves is right here, as near as the tongue in your mouth, as close as the heart in your chest. It's the word of faith that welcomes God to go to work and set things right for us. This is the core of our preaching. Say the welcoming word to God, Jesus is my master, embracing body and soul. God's work of doing in us what he did in raising Jesus from the dead. That's it. You're not doing anything. You're simply calling out to God, trusting him to do it for you. That's salvation. With your whole being, you embrace God setting things right. And then you say it right out loud. God has set things right between him and me. And when thinking about this, there are a couple thoughts I have. The one, kind of break it down as the chapter goes, or as the verse set goes, talking about living by the law code. When all of life is regulated by fine print, you can start living by the letter of the law rather than the spirit of the law. The letter of the law says man and a woman, but the spirit of what is actually there has nothing to do with gender. It has everything to do with promiscuous sex. In fact, I would argue that, biblically speaking, a true relationship looks more like a couple that leans on each other, is there for each other, and stays with each other through it all, than sleeping around, running around, and not communicating, giving up rather than staying with. Commitment. And honestly, I think that's what should be looked at there. Because if God is so committed to us, which we see that he is through the Old Testament and the New, the entire Bible, our lives, when we stop and meditate, I know for mine at the very least, that God is so remarkably faithful that wouldn't faithfulness also be important to him? That in a relationship, faithfulness is the spirit, the letter, you start getting off in the tracks. Because it's like, oh, well, I forgot to drop this T and I forgot to dot that I, and most ancient languages don't have punctuation anyway. So, good luck. And that's as somebody who started digging into this stuff, into the Hebrew and the Greek, because I was tired of religion crap. I got tired of people using the letter of the law as a sword to skewer rather than the spirit of the law, and welcoming the Spirit of Christ in, welcoming Jesus as our master. We don't have to do anything, like it says later, and it's just trusting that salvation is that God sets it right. It's funny, and I know I brought this up yesterday, but again, the word nasa, N-A-S-A, in Hebrew, to carry and to forgive. And, as I started thinking about what this looks like, what salvation looks like, I don't remember the Hebrew word for it off the top of my head. I've studied it before, but it's just not coming off the cuff. But it speaks to me greatly that the very character of God are the characteristics that we're supposed to show, that it is to be. We're not chasing after God. We're simply trusting him, calling out, Jesus is my master, and embracing that fact. Embracing it completely. I think a lot of times we tend to get caught up on this religion idea. And I think also that there's the hurt The third thing I wanted to get to is the saying out loud, God has set things right between him and me. Because when you've suffered a lot of pain and you're dealing with a lot of agony or a lot of turmoil, it can be really difficult to say that. And note that it does not say God has set things right between me, him, and the world, or between me and the world. That's not it in any way, shape, or form. It's between God and us, that he sets it right. And in doing that is relationship. In doing that is trust. When we trust him that he is our master, then we know that he has a plan or a purpose for everything. It's not to wholeheartedly, blindly embrace, but it is to wrestle. And the more I think about the concept of wrestling with God, the more I giggle, to be honest. Like, the entire word splashed throughout it that we are Israel, that the people of Israel are those who wrestle with God. That the Hebrew word for prayer isn't begging or pleading, it's wrestling, it's introspection. And it amuses me that, the Bible, especially the Old Testament, talking about the difference between those who are the people and those of the people, people in the land versus. And it strikes me that one who wrestles with God is closer in spirit to Abraham. And granted, the New Testament says this too. Paul does, that in wrestling with it, we get closer to God than pious religious speak. And I find myself wondering, are we closer to God when we have hit our absolute limit, are yelling out at the top of our lungs, WTF, and just bearing our soul, than when we rote? What if the beauty of salvation grace is the walk? Going out and enjoying a walk, a journey, just being together. I find it interesting that to belong to Christ is to believe that you truly belong to him, that he is your master, to embrace it and to embrace his freedom. And if you haven't, it probably sounds like a little bit like nonsense, or perhaps at least confusing. But it is that first step of truly embracing that Jesus is our master. I know he's mine. I would hope that everyone would call him theirs. Not because of any, mass. I would want everyone to have hope. I would want everyone to hold joy even when they're dealing with sorrow. So I don't want everybody to be of one religion. I want people to have relationship with the one God. Not the lower G ones and the spiritual beings out there. I wanted to be with the one creator of everything. Because God, the absolute creator, Yahweh, a relationship with him is far more fulfilling. And I say that because I've gone looking. I've gone from some of the darkest reaches of things in one spectrum all the way to the other. And I found that through my entire life, there has only been one God that has ever been there. The one being, Yahweh. And that's why I want people to trust in his son, Jesus. Because I'm not trying to throw out random platitudes on this one. I'm saying as somebody who knows that walking through dark valleys sucks monumental amounts of ass, that there's hope. And the other places I looked, I never found hope. But here, there's not just hope, there's life. And life abundant. That is what I hope people dig into. Not words and phrases and bumper stickers and jewelry, but into relationship, to wrestle with those things, to have God walk us through our lives, and to rejoice and sing praise. Because if your life is, and I'm not saying it's an instant, oh, everything's better, sunlight. No, it's peace. It's shalom. Much different from happiness, but much deeper. Much more a state of rest. Even in the everything going on, there's peace. And that's what I want to share. Not ism and ists, but go, seek, and ye shall find. You will. Be open. Be true. And be ready, because he is amazing. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for verses 11 through 13. And remember, in the darkest valley, there is hope. In the darkest night, there is a dawn. See you guys tomorrow. God bless.